Good morning and welcome to our August webinar with the Kentucky Advising Academy, which is an initiative of the Kentucky Council on Post-Secondary Education. My name is Mitzi Holland and I am the director of the Kentucky Advising Academy, and we are so happy to have you with us here today. We have two special guests, Ms. Heidi Dodge and Mr. Chris Nance with Parchment, and they're going to share tons of information with us today. We also have two of our regional coordinators with us. And we are just excited to learn about all the things that Parchment can do for Kentucky schools. And without any further ado, I'm going to turn it over to Ms. Cheryl Brumley.
Hi, everyone. As we give some time for everybody to kind of join in here, we want to know about you. So if you could please just take a moment to introduce yourself in the chat. We'd love to have your name, your organization and title, so where you're coming from today. And just for kind of a fun little get to know you, since we're creeping up on the end of summer here, what's your favorite ice cream? I'm a cookies and cream gal. Ooh, butter pecan cashew. I've never seen that flavor. Got another butter. We got a lot of butter pecans. Evidently, we're gonna have a butter pecan army here. Mint chocolate chip. That's my second favorite. It's a tight race with the cookies and cream. Ooh, black raspberry chip. That sounds yummy. Sometimes I feel like I crave ice cream almost more in the winter than in the summer sometimes. Chocolate chip, nice. All right, well, we got a lot of variety. That's good. I think butter pecan and mint chocolate chip, though, are taking the cake for a few people. All right, well, thank you all for that. Go ahead and keep popping those in the chat there as you enter just that name and title as you're joining us today, because we would love to know kind of who's in the room. Some of you might know that if you're here for the ELA credit at the end, that will be shared on how to get that, and you'll get details on how to receive that important information before we wrap up today. So on our agenda for today, we have a brief introduction to the Kentucky Advising Academy, and then I'm going to be turning it over to our guest presenters who will be sharing today about some of Parchment's current initiatives and capabilities. And at any time, if you have any questions, please feel free to just drop that in the chat, and we'll share some of those questions before we wrap up during our Q&A portion. And if we don't get to them all answered during the webinar, we'll be sure to send you an email with our guest presenters' contact info so you can reach out to them, or we'll connect you that way. So I'd like to start with reviewing the purpose of the Kentucky Advising Academy for anyone new that might be joining us today. So we exist to provide support to Kentucky's educators and providing students equitable access to post-secondary advising for successful transitions from secondary education to their desired careers. The KAA does this by providing comprehensive professional learning sessions, online resources, and networking opportunities centered around post-secondary advising, much like what you're here for today. We have multiple ways that practitioners can choose to be involved with our offerings and resources. So monthly, we offer a well-advised podcast covering timely post-secondary topics, as well as this monthly webinar. Both are usually share-related topic, giving practitioners a chance to convene and gather ideas from each other at our webinar, or just kind of digesting that information on the go with our podcast. We also have built a comprehensive online toolkit, and we also frequently share information and tips spotlighting certain advising practices throughout the state, as well as in-person events like our upcoming fall professional learning event, which you'll get a ton of information on at the end of today. If you joined us on the webinar before and taken advantage of everything that we already offer, of course, we thank you for being a part of the KAA. So to accomplish all that we do, we have what might be some familiar faces to some of you joining us today. We have our program director and our 2 regional advising coordinators, and that helps execute the structure of the work that the Kentucky Advising Academy does. We'd certainly love for you to join us at any and all of our opportunities, and you'll see us kind of around the state soon for that fall professional learning event. And we'll, like I said, let you know how to stay connected at the end. So with that, I'd like to introduce our guest stars for today. We have Heidi Dodge, Customer Success Manager at Parchment, and Chris Nance, Regional Sales Manager at Parchment. So Heidi and Chris, I'm going to stop sharing my screen and I'll pass it off to you to take it away.
Yeah, hey, how's everybody doing? I was just looking through the chat, and it's awesome to see some familiar names and some faces, schools in general that I've actually dealt with personally. And so it's good to re-engage with you all. Heidi and I are more than happy to be here and share this slide deck with you and have a conversation. And obviously, if there's questions at the end for us, we're happy to answer them or continue on a conversation later on, whatever works best for you guys. So what we're going to do is kind of run through a little bit about, if you're familiar, there's a lot of familiar names and faces here, obviously, but there's some that might not know about Parchment in general, and we're happy to kind of share a little bit of information about us, both me and Heidi personally and Parchment in general. So we'll give a little brief introduction to ourselves, and then obviously I'll run us through kind of like a 20,000-foot view of Parchment, the benefits that you can find with us. Heidi will take you through some things from a member standpoint and kind of utilization points for your own platform if you're utilizing some things right now or not, how to make your system a little bit better, your process a little bit better. And then at the end, I'll kind of wrap it up with some tools that Parchment has or services that Parchment has that might be kind of newer to you, and we'll introduce those. And then some things that are coming on the horizon for us as well for 2024 and such. So without further ado, I'll kind of go ahead and share my screen and take us through the first front half of this presentation. Maybe just give me a verbal that you guys can see that.
Yes, we can.
Good deal. Okay, awesome. So again, the e-transcript initiative and Parchment. So we'll do some introductions, like I said, some essentials that Heidi's going to take over and run you guys through. Obviously, Parchment services in general. What's included in the e-transcript service for the state of Kentucky, costs, things like that, if you're unfamiliar with it or not signed up currently, and then obviously questions at the end. So Heidi, you want to run them through a little bit about you?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you all for coming. Thank you, KAA, for inviting us today. So I'm the Customer Success Manager. Some of you may remember me from years ago. I've been with Parchment for about 13 years, but I'm really here as your advocate. I work with KDE and CPE as well, the leadership team there, but I'm your advocate to hear your feedback, really advocate internally on things that you would like to see, or even we know there are sometimes issues. And then addressing ongoing professional service needs. I'm again like your internal advocate in terms of I'll go through a few other things, but in terms of support or technical, I always say skip me. Go right to our support team. They have access. They don't give me access into some of those things, but I'm super excited to be here. Really, again, would love to meet with any of you if you want to talk more about your account individually. So, and then just a little side note, I am located in Minnesota. So I'm in St. Paul, Minnesota. And I love the ice cream question because my daughter worked for 2 years at an ice cream shop. She was a ice cream scooper, and that can be a dangerous thing, just so you know. So thank you so much, and I'll pass it back over to Chris.
Yeah. Thank you, Heidi. Yeah, so I'm the regional sales manager for the state of Kentucky, amongst others. But yeah, I've had the distinct pleasure of being with Parchment since December of 22. I get to work alongside great people like Heidi who have been in the industry and obviously with Parchment for a good deal of time and can learn some tips and tricks from them. But yeah, a little bit about myself. I actually reside in Grand Rapids, Michigan, so the west side of Michigan here. I've been up here with my wife and kids now. I've been married for going on 8 years. I have a 4 and a 2-year-old, so life's a little busy, which you probably all are aware of yourselves, but it's really good to be here. I'm actually on the front end of everything Parchment related, right? So I engage with prospective customers, district schools, things like that. So I get to be a part of that early conversation, find out, why Parchment, essentially, what are some things on your guys' processes that I can help with or that Parchment can help with, the advantages of Parchment for you guys, and obviously for your students, right? We're trying to propel the student to get to a destination point as fast and efficiently as possible. And obviously we want to help admins along the way as well. So if we can ease up your workload, your workflows on a day-to-day, we're all here for it. And so I'll kind of give a little bit of brief overview of Parchment for those who are not familiar, right? So these are kind of, I would say, 3 benefits to Parchment, or 3 advantages that we see that are kind of mainstays for us, right? So having all of your student and alumni requests in one place, right? Centralization of the documents all in one place, both on the student side and an admin side. So student makes the request of the documentation or the credential that they have worked really hard to earn. It goes into an admin portal on your guys' end, and you guys fulfill it off to the destination point. So it's good to just have everything roped into one place. You'd be shocked, or you may have done it in the past, right? Before utilizing Parchment, where a student comes in, they make their request, you jot it down, or they're sending it through a Google form of sorts. There's just so many different ways and processes around the country that I have seen personally. And it's just really great to hear feedback from people like yourselves that are utilizing the platform itself, and understanding that centralizing everything is a key component to just a nice structure, both for the student and for yourselves. And obviously, the one that you see right there in the center is why Parchment exists, right? So we're here, you guys as educators and admins at schools are here for the students, right? You're trying to get them to a better place, educate them, get them to a destination point that gives them an advantage throughout life. Things have changed, obviously. Traditional paths towards colleges and universities is kind of taking a little bit of a turn. I would say we see a big focus and shift towards workforce. There's spots around the country that military is a large encompassing factor as well. How can we get the student to the destination point that they want to get to in an efficient manner? They are the sole focus of what Parchment does, right? And then again, the last little section there, district and school workflows. That's a huge thing for you guys, right? You guys want to do other things other than just bang out transcripts and credentials and things like that, right? There's other stuff on your plate that you have to get to. So the more that we can offer, and the more that you guys can utilize from a Parchment perspective to be able to get to other things, again, we're here for it. The all-encompassing, all in one place. This can wrap up in both, current student requests, parent requests, obviously those under 18, things like that, but alumni requests, third-party verifications. We'll kind of talk about that a little bit more as well. And if someone is, if you're not looking for a question, can you go on mute, please? That'd be awesome. The third-party verifications aspect of it, right? The more I talk to schools and districts, you get call-ins, fax-ins for these, the grad verification aspects of things. Parchment can help kind of ease that for you guys as well. Stop taking calls. They'll make that request through the actual platform itself. And then we've actually created a grad verification piece as of, right, Heidi, I think a month ago is kind of when it rolled out, but it's more of a standardized document rather than having everybody kind of give their own format of what a grad verification looks like. So it's newer to Parchment in terms of us rolling it out, but the concept itself is not anything different or new that we've been dealing with, right? So, and then transfer requests. So we'll get into that a little bit later. I have something towards the end of my slide deck here after Heidi shares her stuff, but we have something called district transfer that could be utilized if you're already not utilizing it right now from a Parchment perspective. So this is kind of what a big, mainstay value proposition of Parchment is for both you and your students, right? We encompass roughly 95% of all the colleges and universities in the United States. So you think about Parchment has two sides to our business, right? We have a K-12 side, and we have a higher ed side. On the higher ed side, it's all encompassing colleges, universities, the military. We partner with the NCAA Clearinghouse, background check companies like a Sterling, a HireRight. If you're getting calls and faxes from those folks, they actually have Parchment accounts and they know to make that request for the grad verification through you guys, and they can just log in and simply do that. That request is actually going to come into you much like it would for a digital transcript request by a student. So everything comes into your admin workflow the same way. You're kicking it out the same way on the back end, but everything again centralized for you. It's right there in front of you so that you can kick that out and fulfill it. So again, the destination points to the right are just some of the encompassing ones that we can offer. There's a lot more, obviously, but you know, you're probably thinking, okay, what about the 5% of the folks that aren't on a Parchment platform on the higher ed side? Does that mean that I can't send to them in a digital fashion? The answer is no, you definitely can. What that simply means is that the 5% that are not on, those fulfillments aren't going to go directly to a Parchment account per se. But if you have a direct contact point and a valid email address or an address, the student still has capabilities to be able to send directly to that destination point. And then if you see a little bit in the center of the screen, those are just a couple of the different credentials that we see. You know, micro credentials are getting a lot more popular nowadays, certifications, Microsoft certifications, things like that. So, you know, whatever you guys want to make available for your student to have orderable on your guys' storefront and platform, you can do that. Most often, obviously, it's going to be a transcript, but it could be other things as well, immunization records, certifications, like I said. So. And then again, I kind of talked about it a little bit, but the third party verification. So those companies calling in, kind of hounding you whether someone graduated from your school or not. It gets overwhelming, maybe a little bit of an annoyance on your end during the workday, right? Let's try to ease that up for you a little bit as well. If you're not taking advantage of this right now, reach out to Heidi. Let's get you guys involved on the third party verification side and you know, ease your tension up a little bit in this area. You know, relieve it of the phone calls, faxes. You can actually add a surcharge on top of their request fee. So they pay a documentation fee to Parchment. But if you're not utilizing a surcharge in the back end, you can actually make some revenue for your school or for your district. And we see a great deal of people doing this and doing some really cool things with it. Heidi can probably attest to this a little bit too over the years, but you know, a really cool one is, you know, scholarship funds. If you guys are trying to fulfill a scholarship fund of some kind, maybe it's some other initiative at the school or district that you're trying to do. Let's try to get you there. You know, there's ways within Parchment that we can try to help you guys generate a little bit of revenue back to your pockets, and you know, let's make something happen. And then I'm going to kick it over to Heidi here, and she's going to take you through all of the customer success management options and utilization points for members.
Great. Thanks so much, Chris. All right. Let me share my screen. Awesome. So I'm going to talk a little bit about essentials for success. So if some of you are already using Parchment, maybe you are the main user in Parchment, hopefully these will help you in terms of best practices. And so we're really going to look at preparing for student orders. We know you're at the beginning of the school year. I think some of these best practices carry over all throughout the year. Chris is also going to help me in terms of popping in some links as I refer to some of those. And everybody can see my screen, right? Before I get too far. Awesome. So the first thing is we have a lot of great resources. I am a resource in Kentucky as well. So if I don't know the answer, I'm going to get you to where you need to be. But I know that there's a lot of new folks that start. There can be a lot of staff turnover. Maybe you've worked in Parchment for years and you're like, I just need a refresher. So I want to let you know that there's some K-12 resources. So there are some training opportunities. There's some self-paced training as well as live webinar training. And so if you're the type of person that's like, listen, I need to ask questions, I need to have someone on that line, definitely sign up for one of our webinars. They usually hold them a few times a month. And like I said, even if you've been around for years and you want a refresher, no problem. Go ahead and register. And then in terms of member support, like I said, I always kind of joke, skip me if it's technical. They don't give me access to everything. They are an amazing team. And in my experience, I hear a lot of great feedback from my members. So you can always reach out to member support at that phone number, or you can log a ticket at member support at parchment.com. Or if you are an admin on the account, you can see that support tab in the upper right-hand corner and simply log a case. One thing that I always like to advocate is that typically we try to respond in 24 to 48 hours. It depends on the queue. It sometimes depends on the time of year, but after you log that case, you usually will get an automated email that just lets them know that they did receive your case. So they're a great team. Don't forget to utilize them. The other piece is we have a set of quick bites videos. And so there is a K-12 admin playlist for all of your users. They're really short videos. If you're anything like me, maybe sometimes you're only doing things once a year, twice a year. You don't remember. There's so much information going through our heads. So there's quick videos. You can quickly just click on those, find the steps, you can pause, you can replay. And then there's also a playlist for your students. And so we really suggest, if you can, go ahead and put that link on your website somewhere. I like the link because if they click on that link, they're always going to be accessing the most current videos. Again, they're super short, very concise, somewhere that you can send alumni or parents or students that have questions. So a few of the things that I want to talk about in terms of kind of like a back to school checklist are posting your order link button, e-releasing from Infinite Campus, and it's just going to be a quick overview. Send registration codes, update your administrators, and then like Chris said, I have just a few product highlights that I kind of wanted to go over with you as well. So the first thing is I'm going to give you all a little bit of homework. If you're already using Parchment, I want you to go to your website and see where your link is. Where's your Parchment link? Where's your information about how to get a transcript? Is it easy if I'm an alumni to go onto your website and see how I request, or if I'm a parent or a student? I will tell you, I have a 22-year-old and I have a 19-year-old. One just graduated from college. One is going to be a sophomore. And so I get it. Like now I don't do any of these things for them anymore because they're adults. But I remember this in high school as a parent trying to find that information. So I'm using Campbellsville Independent Schools as an example, and you can see there they've got their transcript requests. And when you click on that link, you are going to get to their Campbellsville High School storefront, their Parchment storefront. So if you have a link on your website, hopefully it is similar to this one. If it's not, I'm going to show you in a few minutes how you can update that link. Because we've worked in Kentucky for many years and we love the partnership there, sometimes things can get forgotten or not updated, especially if you all don't have access to the website. So that's a little bit of your homework. Check your link, check your information. But if you're using the school-specific link, your storefront will look like this. When an alumni or student or parent clicks on that link, they're going to get right to your page with your school name. You can also have your logo, and you can do some fun stuff with your colors as well. The other place that I really suggest putting that link is in your email signature. That's a great place to be able to, if you're communicating again with folks about transcripts or credentials, you can direct them right to your email signature. So you can post that link there as well. So for those of you that have access to the Parchment account, the location of the school-specific link is under Settings and Ordering. And when you go to the middle of the page, you'll see the link there. That's your school-specific Parchment order link, you can also paste the button. So there's information on how to paste how to place everything. And then also you can upload that mascot or logo, whatever you want to do there. And then under advanced styling is where you can do some of the colors. So if you haven't done this, I really highly recommend it. It's great to have your storefront, have your school name. That way everybody knows that they're in the right place. So the next thing I just wanted to briefly talk about is that the partnership in Kentucky, you should be e-releasing your information from Infinite Campus to then populate into your Parchment account. Now, we completely understand that you may not have all of your legacy students available in your student information system. So you definitely can web upload a PDF of a transcript into an order if needed. But the streamlined process is to e-release from Infinite Campus, which will then generate the student's roster record in Parchment along with their transcript. And so I know Chris is going to put the link because there's a really great document on the KDE website in terms of if you're not set up this way. You can also reach out to me and I can help kind of facilitate getting you connected in the correct way. But again, that e-release process should happen anytime grades are posted to transcripts. So I always say in a perfect world, that's at grade posting. But we know it's not perfect. So there can be times outside of that where a student's transcript may change. If it's manually edited, you're going to want to e-release that information, which will then populate the new transcript into Parchment. Anytime graduation and diploma information is posted, as well as any assessment changes as well. So again, by doing that e-release process, it will create the student's roster in Parchment along with the transcript. And so again, like I said, KDE has great information in terms of any of those steps or connection processes that you need, but you can also reach out to me as well. So I want to talk a little bit about registration codes. So half the battle is getting your students to create their Parchment account. And I probably shouldn't say battle, but I know they're teenagers. You have to tell them multiple times to create that account. But honestly, once they get that account created, they're already halfway there. You're already halfway there once they've got the account created. So a registration code is not required to create or register a Parchment. They can simply click your link and begin the process that way of creating their account. But if you send out registration codes, it's another way for you to communicate to your students. And then when they enter that code, it does populate some of their roster information during the creation process. So it makes it a little bit easier. The other thing that I always like to mention is it populates their correct name. And I know some of you on this call probably are like, yes, I have seen a student spell their name wrong or put the wrong grad year in. So it does kind of help cut down on those mistakes that kids make just because they're moving quickly. But here is where you can see the registration information once you've e-released that information from Infinite Campus. Under learners and then invite learners is where you can see your registrations for your students. And this is a great way to be able to see how many of my seniors created their accounts. Do I need to send more communication? So when you click on the unregistered number, you'll be able to see the students that haven't registered, and you can email those registration codes out to those students again, and you can click a box to send them up to 4 times, or you can also print out the registration codes if you have something at your school, or maybe you're meeting with students one-on-one, or you've got a FAFSA night, something like that, where you feel like you want to print those out and hand them out, you can do that as well. So here's an example of the email, and you can see here on the right-hand side, you do have a place where you can customize this email or this letter that you print. So whatever you populate in that section will populate in the email or letter. So if there's specific instructions that you want to give your students, you can do that there. And again, this is that little checkbox at the bottom where you can check, and this will automatically attempt up to 4 emails for unregistered students. The other thing that I get a lot of questions on is how do I help my students, right? You're not in the learner account. You don't, I don't have access to the learner's account. And so we have a really great learner support site where they can come in and they can click contact support and log a case with our learner support team. There's a lot of FAQs on this page, so they may be able to just get their question answered without even having to log a case. So I wanted to let people know about that, because I know that you all are kind of that first line that they're going to come to when they have issues or questions. So one of the other things I always like to remind people at the beginning of the year, again, we talk about a lot of staff movement, right? You might have a lot of new people coming in. You might have had people leave. And oftentimes when I look at a user list with schools, they'll be like, oh, that person hasn't been here in 2 years. You do not have to come to Parchment to update this. As long as you have site administrator role, you will be able to see the settings tab, and then you can go to users and you can update those users. So you can delete anyone that has left your school or maybe isn't owning the Parchment side anymore. And then you can add new folks as well. So you don't have to come to us, but if for some reason you don't have site administrator, and I've run into this a few times where like everybody's gone, everybody left, and now I can't get in and I can't, add users. Just reach out to me or send me an email. I can help facilitate that as well, or our support team can too. So I want to go through just a few highlights in terms of enhancements that have happened recently, and the history tab is one of those. So you're going to notice if you are a Parchment admin that the history tab has changed a little bit. You still can go in and you can search by a student name, first or last name. If you have an order DID, a delivery ID, you can put that number in that field. But there's an additional search field too, where you can enter search terms, and you can enter multiple terms. You just have to put a space between those terms. The other thing that I really like is the advanced search. So for those of you that are kind of keeping track of, which students are requesting, where are they requesting, how many requests are coming through, you can really drill down in terms of date range. You can look at a specific destination if you want. You can put in a specific class grad year. So if you want to look at your class of 2024 or even, your past class of 2023, you can look at that information. When you run a search in history, know that when that report populates, you can export it to Excel. So if you are a person that likes to filter and sort and add formulas, you absolutely can do that. But again, as you're looking at really kind of making sure that your students are getting their credentials out on a timely basis, or just looking at the overall picture, this is a great place to go. As well as I always say, again, you are the first people that they usually go to for questions. And so if there is a question about the status of a request that they've made, just simply come into that history tab. And then Chris talked a little bit about verifications. So if you aren't using verifications through Parchment right now, and you're still picking up the phone and you're still taking those emails or faxes, consider when you get those calls or faxes, directing them to your Parchment link. Those third parties, some of them are very in tune with Parchment. And once you direct them to Parchment, those phone calls and emails and faxes typically slow down because they know they can go to Parchment, and they are in the business of getting through high volumes of verifications and quickly. So you can see here the verification process updated, like Chris said, about a month ago. You no longer have to drag and drop a PDF into that order. Everything lives right in the UI. So when a verification comes in, you are going to be able to see all of that student information, the date that it came in, what company it's coming from. And when you click that verify button, the form will populate. If the student is on the roster, it'll populate the information right in the UI for you. And then you can answer the question of, can graduation be verified, the graduation date. And then Parchment populates the form right there for you to send to the verification third-party requester. So all you have to do is click process. So you don't have to drag and drop a special form or a transcript in. Really, it does the work for you. So I am going to stop sharing and pass it back over to Chris to kind of finish us out.
Sorry, I had to unmute myself before I shared the screen, apparently. That's my fault. All right, we're back. Well, thank you, Heidi. I saw a question come in, Heidi, from Emily that I kind of took control of there, but it was essentially, could I be added as a sub-user of the account as a career coach or a college coach? Absolutely, you can. If you have questions about how to get added into the account or your particular school or district's account, please reach out to Heidi or myself. We're happy to help you. But yeah, you could be added as a sub-user. There's going to be an overarching account executive on the actual account itself, but certainly you can add as many users onto that platform as possible, or as much as you would like. When I go into demos with folks, right, I always like to joke around. I hope that you guys are getting validated vacation time and time off away from school, right? So if you guys are away from your desk or anything like that, or fulfilling orders that are coming in, certainly we'd want you guys to have some backup capabilities as well. And so we want those people to have access to, so that we can fulfill orders as students need them. So it's a great question. And here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take you a little bit through the actual initiative, and then kind of go into some services that Parchment offers that maybe you aren't utilizing and want to. And then obviously we have something coming in 2024 that I think will be a hit with everybody here, or most people. I've had a couple people actually from Kentucky already reach out to me about it, so I'm excited to kind of share that. But if you are unfamiliar or unsigned up with Parchment, this is kind of what we're looking at in terms of getting signed up with the e-transcript initiative through Parchment, right? So the Kentucky DOE and Parchment are in agreement for digital copies of transcripts for current students. So current students here, obviously free of charge for them to make requests of you guys for their transcripts. The only exception here is going to be if they order a print copy and they need to send that through you. Our standardized method is USPS. There's obviously ways that you can send it through FedEx as well. We also ship international, but there's going to be obviously applicable additional fees in that regard. But our standard is USPS. The only thing that wouldn't be covered is the handling fee there, which is $2.75. But in terms of digital copies needing to be sent out, completely subsidized. As for the alumni, they have a $4.40 transcript transaction fee. Heidi, remind me, does that start immediately, or is that in September?
That is actually in September, so it won't
September.
start until September.
Awesome. So updated costing of $4.40 starting in September. And then I kind of talked about it a little bit earlier when I was talking about the grad verifications, but you can actually also add a surcharge on top of the alumni costing as well, right? They're going to pay that $4.40 to Parchment, but you have full capability of utilizing the surcharge on top of that, right? And so what that looks like is you take the $4.40, let's say you set the bar at $8, right? So you have a $3.60 difference between that. you guys accrue 80% of the difference between $4.40 and whatever you set that bar at, right? And it comes back to you. And I think how it goes is essentially once we accrue $500 onto the account, we kick it back over to you. And so again, the only other aspect of that, right, is the handling fee. If they want a print copy, $2.75 too. And then I talked about third-party requests earlier, right? So they're paying Parchment a credential fee for that grad verification. But if you're not utilizing the surcharge on the third parties right now, let's talk. You know, get with Heidi, let's talk, let's have that happen for you, because it's a great way for you guys to kick over some revenue and fund some things that you guys want to be doing at your schools. How to get signed up? Reach out to me. I'm happy to help. I will be kind of the forefront of getting you guys signed up, getting you guys into an implementation stage with one of our specialists. We'll get you signed up, and then you get to cohesively work with Heidi from there on out. And she'd be a great person to work with. Heidi is amazing. Does a great job with us. And let's see. Come on. There we go. Talked about it a little bit earlier as well, but district transfer, right? I kind of led into it a little bit, but this is something that you can absolutely get with Heidi on to get signed up with. It's called district transfer. But what this allows is if you guys have students that are moving on from your particular school, going to a different district or school, that particular school can make the records request, that cumulative file request of you guys through your Parchment platform, right? So this is an add-on feature to what you guys already have. If you guys already don't have this activated, but yeah, you can upload everything in a PDF fashion, send it out through Parchment back to the school. It's going to ask for validation of that requester, which is a huge thing, right? Data privacy is everything to us, and if we didn't comply or weren't in agreement with everything in that regard, we wouldn't be in business, and we take it very seriously. We have a whole sector of our business that deals in compliance and things like that. So this is just such a great way for you not have to fax documents out or send them through the mail, right? Because all that data privacy is a huge thing. You also have trackability on all that as well, which is also a great benefit for you and for the student. So digitization. So this is another service that Parchment offers. I'm looking at the attendees list on this call right now, and I know I've talked to several of you about this already earlier in the year. This is a really cool feature and kind of service that we offer, but you guys have legacy records, alumni records, immunization records, everything under the sun, right, in a cumulative file. I think after 5 years, you guys can kind of purge that and make it strictly transcripts, right? But we can actually take those records and digitize them, and you guys get a couple of things back, right? You get a secure file transfer copy, that's yours forever, whether you're a Parchment member or not. You guys can store that away and keep it on file there on your own servers. The cool thing about that is it's probably threefold, right? I always lead off this call with you're probably in one or all three buckets, right? So space is a huge thing for you guys. Access to the files in general, and then security. And when I mean security, I mean the what ifs, right? The what ifs of the world: tornadoes, floods, fires, mitigate the loss of the actual records itself. So I've had some amazing conversations with people all over the country about this, have helped out in a number of ways. And if you guys are interested at all, myself and Heidi would be glad to talk to you about something like this. We would just need the records sent to us in a box. We do it all at a secure place in Mexico, Missouri. So it's not too far from Kentucky, right? You guys have the benefit of that. People out in like California and stuff like that, they get a little longer trek there, but we would just need those. We digitize everything, and we can actually destroy securely the records themselves if you want us to, or we can have them back to you guys as well. Just in case you need them. But I actually have this in a digital PDF copy as well, this little flyer, and I can send it out at the end of the call here as well, just so you guys have that. And you can kind of see a little bit of the benefits on both of those little segments there. But one really great aspect about this as well is those older alumni records. What it's going to be doing is saving you from single upload each time that an alumni makes a request of you guys, right? Because we're going to actually create a roster in Parchment for you and tie those transcripts in. So anytime that one of those alumni make a request, it auto ties the transcript and you just fulfill it on the back end. So you're not having to upload anything in real time, which is amazing. I kind of alluded to it a little bit earlier, but coming in 2024, diplomas. We've had capabilities of diplomas on the higher ed side for a long time now. It's a huge popular thing. We have beta tested and have had customers in K-12 before do some diploma ordering and things like that. We kind of put it, I would say, on the back burner a little bit on the K-12 side, but we're going to hype it up and actually do it again in 2024, whether it's a print or a digital fashion. That's TBD on your guys' end, but I kind of took this from the higher ed side and kind of give a little depiction into what you guys might be seeing, right? So we have facilities that can manage and print diplomas for you guys and send them out to you upon graduation, right? Or we can make those digital copies and things like that. One huge thing that our marketing team has noticed over time is that people like to put their credentials on LinkedIn. Just, hey, I made it. Diplomas are great, things like that, right? Certifications. You guys would have the ability for your students to have that and be an uploadable thing onto places like LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, and such like that. So let's validate that they made it all the way through your guys' school and they're on to the next phase of life, right? That's a really cool thing. And obviously everything is trackable in terms of if we're sending new documents, things like that too. So more to come on this, but I just thought I'd give a little tidbit about the diploma section here in general, just because I think it's going to be a really cool thing. And again, I've had a couple of districts here in Kentucky alone that have reached out in the last, I would say 60 days or so that were interested in doing this. And we kind of had to say, hey, more to come. But I think it's going to be a really cool thing. So stay tuned. I'm sure we'll have some sort of webinar or marketing campaign around it. So if you're interested, it's coming. And that will do it for Heidi and I's presentation. I'll kick it back over to probably you, Cheryl or Mitzi.
Yeah. Thank you so much. That the digitized diploma thing is super cool.
Yeah, it's very cool. That's just something that our marketing team has kind of collected some information over time. And I kind of said it earlier, but the credential space is changing a little bit, right? It's not just a transcript anymore. It's micro-credentials are becoming a huge thing, badges, certifications. So again, whatever you guys want to make available and orderable for your students, you can absolutely do that on your guys' platform. So that's just one cool way to kind of show off what the student worked really, really hard for coming out of your guys' schools. So
yeah. Well, even with the, if you think about the possibility of the LinkedIn compatibility, I'm a pretty avid user of LinkedIn, and that's just that's so cool to think that you could have it all right there. But thank you, Heidi and Chris, for your time. At this point, we want to open it up to any Q&A. We've covered a lot in a pretty condensed amount of time. So I know there was some that have popped questions in the chat, and I think those are kind of answered along the way. But at this point, if anybody would like to come off mute or pop a question in the chat, then now is the time to do that. I feel like oh, there it is.
And then Cheryl too, you guys are going to share the slide deck, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Cool.
I just saw someone asked, how can I get a copy of today's recording?
Awesome.
All of we do share an email kind of after the fact when we send out the things like the ELA credit. You'll get at the end of today, there'll be a QR code for a form to get some feedback for us. And that's also how we know where to send those materials if you want some of those today. But we also post all of our webinars to YouTube after the fact. So after today's meeting, if you give it a couple days, this will eventually be available on the Kentucky Advising Academy YouTube. So you can share this with whoever wants this information, as well as the potential slide deck that was used. Yes.
I saw something about the perfect. The email contact. So I just threw both of them in the chat for everybody. But they are on the slide deck too, at the front end of it in our little bios. So they'll be in there. So feel free to reach out to Heidi or I about anything that you guys saw on the slide decks, or if it's anything pertaining to anything that I would handle or Heidi, we're more than happy to take care of you guys.
Are all of the resource links in the slide deck? I can't remember if all of those were in there. I know you put them in the chat, but
They are, I think the Vimeo video ones are, Heidi, but I don't think that the other ones are. The admin learning one, or the admins and the learner Vimeo like quick bite videos are in there, but I don't think that the training links and all that are.
I can add those before we send it over to you.
Yeah, perfect.
Yeah.
that would be
I can-
helpful. If not, I thought we would
Mhm.
just get those from you and include those in that email too. I thought that might be beneficial for participants.
Absolutely. Yeah. And if anyone on the call wants to schedule an account review call with me, I'm more than happy to do that. I mean, typically I can do, 30 minutes. I know you all are busy, but if you want to schedule a call with me and we can kind of go through your individual account and review, we definitely can.
I see we had someone ask, if we have another digital file service and we're to switch to using Parchment for digital files, can we move our existing backlog of files to Parchment?
That's a good question. So it really, it's a tough question to answer kind of in the moment. We would need to kind of know like what the file service is, what their usage of that file service is, things like that. I mean, we digitize the files, but we're not really meant to be like a file like storage kind of emphasis by any means. So I'm thinking of like I'm blanking on the name of the service, but essentially you house all your records in there. You guys can transfer them, things like that. I mean, the benefit that for Parchment, right? We would just we can re-digitize already digital files and things like that, and put them obviously in Parchment and give you back that secure file link. But in terms of like us being a storage facility for your files, I don't think that we would want to like be that in a sense, right? There's just a lot of things compliance related that we have to there's a lot of yellow or red tape, so to speak, in that regard, where it's the housing of the actual records, data breaches, things like that. We try to like prevent ourselves from that regard. But I'd love to have a further conversation with you, Jesse, if you want to reach out about that. I can kind of learn a little bit more about what you guys might be doing and if we can be of any assistance in that regard. Cool.
Do we have any more questions before we wrap us up today? Heidi, Chris, any final thoughts, words?
I just want to say thank you. I personally enjoy, working with you all, and thank you again for inviting us, because anytime we can, give some best practices to, help admins, work in Parchment more efficiently, and then to be able to ultimately help your students get to where they want to be is, our goal. So please reach out to me again. We're happy to help in any way. So thanks again, you all, for inviting us.
I echo
Like
everything that Heidi just said.
Just say ditto.
Yeah, I did. When it was too funny, because I was looking at the people on the call and things like that, and everybody in Kentucky has been amazing in the conversations that I've had with you all. I was laughing because I saw Green Up on here, and we actually have somebody that works in the digitizing space for us as a project manager. She was a cheer coach, and she was on the call when I had the call with Green Up, and that Get Up for Green Up cheer that they have for cheerleading is like lives in infamy in my household. Coming out of that call, my wife just was laughing so hard that I was like saying that. She walked into the room when I was having that conversation. She's like, "What are you doing?" But yeah, no, but it's been awesome. If you guys obviously have questions for either of us, we're more than happy to help. The adoption rate for Parchment in the state of Kentucky is second to none. I think last time we checked, Heidi, I think it's somewhere around 96%. It's huge. So learn from others. If somebody's doing something that you guys might want to be doing, or if you have questions about how you guys can utilize things a little bit better, we're here for you. So
Chris,
yeah, and like we said, we'll be sharing some of their information on how to get in touch with them as well.
yeah.
Excuse me just a minute. There is a question that Mark put in the chat.
Yeah.
I just wanted to make sure you all saw that. He was asking about a video, how-to video for students.
Yeah, if you have depending on which one you have, the link that we posted is an entire playlist for learners, and there is a how-to video on there. So I'm not sure which one you have on your website, but the link to the playlist will have all of those videos, how to order, how to create your account, how to change your email. If you want to just link that playlist, there's a whole series for learners. So great question.
Well, I will echo the thank yous to Heidi and Chris for being here with us today and for sharing such great info. We're going to wrap up today. We have a few little pieces of information on how to stay connected with KAA, as well as how to get, all of the information that you saw here today. And some of these links, as I go through them, they'll be on your screen, but they're also being popped in the chat by Christy, one of our KAA coordinators. So I want to take a moment to share our upcoming fall professional learning event that we have. We have just released the date. So we have September 8th, 20th, and 27th, and we're kind of popping all around Kentucky. It's scheduled throughout September on KCTCS campuses across the state. And this professional learning is going to be focused on using data and reflection to support post-secondary advising. So through reflection and discussion, we're going to look at how data can inform your advising practices and work to build a more robust advising systems within your school and district. Participants to this event are going to have the opportunity to learn from district teams who have made a commitment to improving their post-secondary advising systems as they share how they have navigated through the different achievements and challenges of implementing new advising systems and practices. We encourage everyone to bring colleagues who are part of their post-secondary advising team, whether that's school counselors, administrators, Frisky coordinators, community partners, and others that you might have within your circle. And as with many of our live and in-person events, ELA and Frisky training credit will be available. So feel free to use the QR code. If you'd like to access how to register now, you can also go to the link that you see on the page and that's being shared in the chat to register for the event that is closest to you or the date that works best for you. And again, all this information will be shared in an email for the registrants as well. I also wanted to share to be on the lookout for our next webinar. It is making informed decisions on paying for college, and we'll be having a panel of financial aid representatives from various colleges statewide discussing our topic, and also available for a Q&A. So we're going to be discussing kind of all things college finance related. So it should be really kind of exciting to be able to pick the brains of the different professionals across our state in both public, private, and KCTCS universities. Again, you can register through the QR code on the screen or our website. Most of this information can be found on our website, cpe.ky.gov/advisingkentucky. And as mentioned, those links are being shared in the chat as well. Our last share of information is our new-ish. We launched this in about April or May of this year, so some people might have seen it, some people might not, but KAA now has a college and career advising toolkit. This is, sorry, I'm scrolling too far. This is an online resource that's designed to support all post-secondary advising professionals and gives kind of a comprehensive collection of tools, information, and resources to serve as a hub for advisors all across the Commonwealth. Its aim is to help advisors gain a better understanding of the foundational elements to effectively advise high school students to and through their post-secondary transitions. So advisors can use this toolkit to gain more insight into topics such as career and academic advising, student development, student belonging, and more. Each topic housed in the toolkit, we also have those quick guide documents, which include important pieces of information needed when advising students. And the quick guide documents are curated and able to be downloaded and easily shared with other practitioners, students, or even family members should you need to, because those are PDF documents that can be downloaded, printed, shared as needed. So we hope you take advantage of this kind of newly available resource. And this is also a place where you can kind of capture most of our activities at KAA that has going on. So multiple ways that you can engage with us and stay in the know on our events and happenings and resources. This is just our final slide on how to stay connected with KAA to keep all of our information up to date. We are on Instagram and Twitter, now known as X, but we left Twitter up there just because of, I'm not sure who knows that it's kind of called by a different name now. As we mentioned, YouTube, Kentucky Advising Academy, if you search that, you'll see all of our past webinars, and this one will eventually be posted there as well. And if you ever want to contact us, Kentucky Advising Academy at ky.gov for any questions or any information on how to access that. Last but not least, we want to thank you for joining us today. And we ask that you please complete this survey as a way for us to continue to improve the Kentucky Advising Academy and our offerings. This is also how we will know to process your ELA credit if that is needed. So please scan the QR code or use the link that is on the screen and being dropped in the chat to complete a Google form. It's a pretty short Google form with just a few questions. And we'll use that to email you your certificate of participation. And we also appreciate your feedback and evaluation on today's event. So again, I'll just say thank you. And that's all we have for you today. We hope to see you at future events, and I hope everyone has a wonderful day.